Bonjour, hello, welcome to my YouTube channel, Max Mountain World. Bonjour, hello. Today, Ek, the Saxo, is going for a service. She just arrived at 140,000 kilometres, which is about 87,500 miles if my mathematics is correct. And apart from the service, fluids and filters, a couple of things as well that I've reported that I'm going to get sorted. First is one of the fog lights has a cracked lens. No problem, get them to replace it. Second is a couple of intermittent electrical problems. One being the wipers kind of have this fault where they just don't work unless they're on fast. And the other is the indicators sometimes don't work. So I'm sure these are just simple dry connections, but they've driven me a little bit mental just trying to get to the bottom of it myself. The main thing is, on the cold start, she's very rough on the first 15-20 seconds or so. So let's go and see. I've reported all this. Hopefully this cold start thing isn't a problem, because when she's warm she's just running like a dream as usual. So let's go and fire it up and see what happens. Now, just to see what's what. Indicators, not a bother, although they'll probably stop working intermittently at some point. Let's have a look at the wipers. Right, so they don't park themselves. Also, the intermittent isn't working, which is the same thing. It's some kind of, I think, some kind of earth connection. So give it a fire up. Now, that's pretty astonishing, because that's the first time I've fired it up in the last couple of weeks and it hasn't gone rough. Although I did rev it a little bit by accident. Normally just give it a little bit of throttle just to help her get started, but yeah. And as we can see, the anniversary just passed. As usual, I'll give her a couple of minutes warm up before moving it off. With the automatic gearbox, it lets everything get fired up, warmed up, and can't be too bad for the machine as well, being quite an old car, 17 years old. So I'm going to move it out and park it outside, and we can see how the cold start happens later on this afternoon when I jump into the car to run it down the road. So while I've got the car warming up, we'll just go over this problem I've been having with the engine. It's been starting very, very rough on the cold start. I've been kind of, as usual, when there's anything in a car I'm in and there's any questions of stuff like that, I'll theorise and try and determine exactly what the problem is. This one's got me a little bit fooled. It could be anything from a faulty detector sensor to a major engine problem, but I don't think it's a major engine problem because it just runs so well when it's warmed up. I'm pretty sure it's not something like an injector, or it could be a combination thereof. These cars are so complicated with all their electronics these days that you never know. My bet is that, not a betting man, but my bet as such is, my bet is that it's a combination of two things. It's a sensor that's not working well, and there's probably a problem with one of the injectors. Hopefully it's not more serious. Hopefully it's not something like a sticky exhaust valve or inlet valve or something like that. When it does this, there is a small smell of petrol emanates, I don't know whether that's a good sign or a bad sign, although being a misfire, it's obviously not burning some of the petrol that's running through it, so we'll have to see. And I'm just hoping it's not anything too murderously expensive. If it is something expensive, I'm just going to, as usual, get it done. And the car every time goes down to the Citroen garage. It gets its logbook and everything updated. And yes, it might be a bit more expensive, but these guys know what they're doing. They know the cars, they have the equipment, the analysis equipment and whatnot. So to me, it's the best way, and it also keeps kind of a little bit of value in the car, knowing that it's always been cared for at a Citroen garage. Right, so she's ready to go. The takeovers drop down to just below the 1,000 mark, which is a normal setting. Trying to find automatics have their idle set a little bit higher than a manual car. A manual car I'll have in this category would have it set at round about 800. This car, being in the automatic, round about the 900 mark. She's warming up, she's ready to go. So I'll go and park it up outside. That'll be a case of leaving it for a few hours before I shift it later on this afternoon and restart on a cold start and see how she's doing. Okay, so garage day.